Red button?
Yes, please.
Red. Oh, look at that. Well, time being 5:30 p.m. I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 meeting of the Fire Commissioners of the Tilton Northfield Fire and EMS. Let the record show that all three commissioners are here. Chief Seatar, Deputy Chief Sudare, Administrative, I don't know what your title is.
Administrative manager.
Administrative
I
Manager,
go by
Catherine
whatever.
Tobine, and we have one visitor, Larry
Dingy.
Dingy. Yes, got it right. All right, first up is Larry Dingy.
So the commissioners invited Larry to this meeting to discuss the some of the issues that we've had with Engine 2 and how we've fixed those, but really more importantly to make sure that those issues do not happen with the new Engine 1. And you know, you guys pretty much know what's going on with Engine 2 and where we are with that. I think the final thing that we're looking to get fixed on Engine 2 is the on-spot chains. Other than that, everything else is pretty much good to go. And as you know, that was due from raising the front end. It caused an unintended consequences on the back end, which caused the cans to be lower than what they should have been. And if I've got a picture of the intended new Engine 1 and how the graphics were working on it. That this came a few weeks ago. You guys didn't need that. We want this, Kathy? Okay. And we've been working with the factory, with the engineer, and with the owners and sales managers of Sutphen Corp. to make sure that all these issues are going to be cleared up. And of course, when we go out to inspect this vehicle, I expect sometime in July, we're certainly going to be aware of the issues that had happened in Engine 2 will not be happening in Engine 1. And if there are any issues, it's not leaving the factory. So I guess if Larry, you want to add anything to that?
Well, I think you said it pretty well. The last issue we're working through is on Engine 2 is, like the chief said, getting the on-spot tire change working properly on the back. What we're trying to work through is, do we need to do something now with Engine 2 to get the back end up in the air a little bit to help with the chains going forward, and that whatever we end up doing there will set the model for what will be done with new Engine 1. During the production process of Engine 2, great pains were taken to lower both the front end and the rear end to get it down in the overall height concerns that everybody had. We learn now after the fact that it cost in the angle of approach on the front end, so that we ended up back at my shop, we put new springs in the front of it to get it up in the air 2 more inches. And like he said, it tilted the back down, as well as on top of what they had done to lower the rear end out. And I think it happened in Pennsylvania at the shop there, to achieve the 9'6" overall height in the back. Right now, as it sits, it's about 2 inches low of that 9'6" in the back. So there is some room to work. If we end up not raising the rear end like from what it is now, we have to get basically entire new chain units for the on-spots and brackets to get them back up in the air. I came over, I forget when now, to look at raising them up, and the existing chains that are on it, the one on the driver's side primarily, I could get it raised up in the air by changing the brackets around underneath, but then the arm that the chain swings up on, as it swings up, it was going to be striking against the yoke on the drive shaft as it turns. So it just couldn't be. So we're working that through. We will get it resolved. I think that's the last, like Chief said, I think that's the last lingering issue on that truck. And we've documented everything we've done very well to get Engine 2 where it is now, and made changes in the build documentation for that truck to make sure that engine one is done like it sits now.
Can I ask a question, Larry?
Sure.
I know we bought trucks off you before, because I remember we bought engine 3 years ago, and when you brought it down, we went to a fire, actually me and you together.
Yep.
How are you affiliated with this company?
We are about 10 years ago, 11 years ago now, Sutphen Corporation had never had a northern New England dealer with a dedicated territory. The first new Sutphen truck had been bought just previous to that by Falmouth, Maine. The first new Sutphen truck in the state of Maine had been bought by Falmouth. There was Merrimack had a truck here in New Hampshire previous to that, but those trucks were sold and serviced by the dealer out of East Hartford, Connecticut. At that time, the family, Sutphen is still a family-owned operation, had basically said, you know, if we ever want to do more in northern New England, we need to try to have somebody that's known in northern New England and is local to up there be our dealer and represent us and service our trucks. They have some dealers around the country that all they do is they sell a truck out of the back of their car. And then they have other dealers like ourselves that can basically do everything, right down, you know, even the most complex repairs because of the capabilities the dealers have. So for whatever reason, I don't know why, a gentleman walked in my door one day, you know my shop. I said, if you got a few minutes, can I talk? Asked me if I'd be interested in being their dealer up here and create a northern New England territory. They invited me out to Ohio, so I got a chance to meet all the family members, tour all the shops. I had free reign in the shops. And at the time, it seemed as though it was going to be a fairly easy transition for me and my company to be able to take on representing them as, and I still build my own truck, Paul, as you well know.
Yep.
To be able to take on representing them, and we've gradually grown because it was a relatively unknown name up this way. We've gradually grown to where people tend to recognize us with the Sutphen company now, as well as realize that, yeah, Larry, you still build your own, like you always have. To where now we have, including your engine one, we have, what, seven trucks in the build schedule right now in different stages of being made. Kennebunk's next one. Kennebunk, like yourself, bought a truck and then ended up a year later, bought the second one, the mate to it. Theirs is going to be delivered here in 3 weeks or so. We go out to bring it back. And most all of them have had some component of work done by us in my shop before they're delivered. Like your truck was originally only intended for me to do the shelving and pull out trays and everything. But your truck got a little involved where we ended up changing front springs and modifying things to get it so it would do the job and work here. And since then, my daughter works with me now, and she basically does all the sales. I look over her shoulder a little bit, but she does all the bidding for both the Sutphen side and for our truck builds. And we're just as busy now as I've ever been. You know, I'm my own truck builds, I'm booked out well into next year. And lately it seems like my builds have all been replacements of trucks that I've built over the years. Going through their life cycle, 25 years old, people come to me to make a replacement. Yeah.
So the other thing too is this new truck. So you're going to be the one that takes care of it.
I'm the service shop for it.
Yeah. Okay.
We're the designated service
I
shop.
know the other trucks we bought off you. You've always done good by us.
Well,
You've always stood behind your
I
product and
appreciate
everything. I know that for a fact because I remember Harold. used to call you all the time.
Yep.
And matter of fact, I've been up to your shop a couple times, I
Yep.
believe, and you have treated us nice over the years, so.
Well, and I appreciate the fact that I'm doing business back with your fire district.
Mhm.
And I think part of what the Sutton family was counting upon me to do is to treat the customers for their trucks up here just as if you're a customer for my own truck.
Mhm.
And we work very hard to try to do that. Yours has been one of those problem trials to get it up and running, but I think we're over the hump there now. And yeah, and it's my responsibility more than anybody's to make sure that engine one comes here with no glitches.
You're right, because when people see that and hear that, I mean, we spent, what, $750,000 for a truck, and it comes, we got problems, then they start talking.
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they start bad-mouthing everybody, they bad-mouth us, then it goes back to you and it goes on and on and on.
Sure.
Yeah, so,
And I fully realize,
Yeah.
just as it has been with engine two, it's been my responsibility to make it right.
mhm.
I've gotten good support from the folks in Ohio. They've been paying all my bills. But it's still my responsibility to make it right, as well as my responsibility to make sure engine one is done right.
Well, appreciate you coming, absolutely.
My pleasure.
And yes, I understand that as a representative, you've taken the responsibility. I have some grudge with Sutton putting out a product that, if it was engineered right, it's that front piece. I have concerns that their engineer didn't design it right or argued that it wasn't done right. And they did a shortcut of a shorter spring or one less spring to get the height. Did they do that with the back as well?
To the best of my knowledge, because the back, remember, is air ride suspension. Well, let me back up to the front end first. That new Henderson Steer Tech style axle, which is getting to be very common in the industry. The way Sutphen buys those axle and spring packages, they buy them for two different ride heights. They call it a ride height.
Okay.
And in your case, because right up front we were trying to reach that 9'6" overall height, they designed that truck to be the lower of the two ride heights.
Okay.
When that is done, one of the byproducts of that is the front bumpers are 2 inches lower and can only be raised just so much. You know, they build those bumper brackets with slots in them for adjustments. They can only be raised just so much to gain more ground height. That was what we tried to do first with engine 2. We brought it back to the shop.
Yep.
We took the bumper right off, took the brackets off. We even modified the brackets a little bit to try to get the height we needed without resorting to replacing the springs, and that didn't work. So that's go back to square one again. Got springs ordered through their circles, direct from Hendrickson. I forget where the deal where they're made, but they work through their spring people from Ohio. And that was just taking way too long. Parts these days, some days parts will come in 2-3 days, and other times some parts you'll hear, oh, it might be 3-4 months. So it seemed like the replacement spring for the front was going to be that, well, it was going to carry into mid-January before we even saw them. So I just went locally, folks out of Barry, Vermont, that's a spring shop, and I bought the springs from them. Sutphen reimbursed me. They were able to get them fairly quick as a replacement spring, as if the truck had been in an accident and need to be repaired. Different way of looking things than if you're building up the chassis from new. So we were able to get them, and we replaced them in my shop. It seemed better for us to replace them in-house than to take them and have them done up in Barry. We could get it done quicker doing it ourselves rather than fit it into their schedule. So, engine one now, the big takeaway from all that is we've specified in the build document for engine one that extra 2-inch ride height in the spring. On the back end, what they had done And I'm still not entirely sure what they had done. That's why we're trying to get that part of it square. They had taken extra steps to lower the back end to reach the 9'6" height, and which they did. When we left their shop out there with the truck, it was right there. Well, the result of getting the front end up, you know, it's that old teeter-totter thing, lowered the back end, and that's what has affected the on-spot chains, because those are all dependent upon a 3.5 inch or so height from the ground to where the chain wheel contacts the tire. And when we lowered the back end, it affected all of that. So we're working to get that squared away, and as soon as I can, I'll be replacing those chain wheels and everything.
So the on-spots that are being affected are the rear on-spots?
Yes.
They mount behind the axle, I assume?
Actually, they don't. They mount ahead of the axle.
Okay, so I'm going to use common sense and logic here. You're the expert on this.
Yeah. Oh, I got you fooled.
Okay, so if I have a truck like this and I'm bringing the front up,
Yeah.
and they're ahead of the rear fulcral point,
Yeah.
how are they closer to the ground?
So the hard part, it took me a little bit to wrap my head around it. Please don't think I'm the expert.
You're better than me at this.
With an air ride suspension,
Okay,
different from a spring suspension.
okay.
Everything, basically the bracketry for the air ride suspension and the height control is behind the axle.
Front and back?
Well, front is spring suspension.
Okay,
So in your truck, the air ride is only on the back axle.
okay.
So the control for that, the airbags and everything are behind the axle on that truck.
Okay.
So the process of lifting the front up sent all that apparatus lower. The part we don't know, because we just don't know, is because I personally, bad on me, never tried the on-spots before. So
It's just like you don't try AC in a truck when you buy it in the wintertime.
that's correct. So it may well have been incorrect right out of the box. What I do know is that I've talked to the engineers who built the chassis in Ohio, and they're fairly certain that they had set up the rear suspension such that the chain height, everything was correct. Somehow, with your chassis, between the chassis being built in Ohio, being transported to Pennsylvania to have the body put on, somehow it appears as though some adjustments were made in the height of the rear end ride to get the height requirement taken care of on top, and no adjustments were made underneath for the on-spots. So people were looking at the top of the truck, worrying about that, and lowering the back end to do the job, but weren't looking underneath as to what that lowering affected. I never tried it. I know folks here never tried it until you had your first bad day and you needed it, and then I got a phone call.
So there's a good chance that just coming out of the factory alone could have been the issue.
Could have,
Because
good chance.
The logic, I mean, and like I said, I'm coming from street logic.
Yep.
What the engineer up there is saying doesn't ride right in me for common sense, just like when he was saying the bumper was right when the bumper was wrong.
Yep. Yep.
So,
Yep. Yep. So don't know where the problem occurred, but I do know we're working to get it fixed and make it right. And on top of that, maybe I'm dragging my feet a little bit on the getting it fixed because I want to make sure it's right. So whatever changes we have to make to this chassis, we know up front before the next chassis is built. Because it's going to be built pretty soon.
when we sent to bid and all that, did we have a minimum ground clearance in the center between the two wheels?
No, we had an approach angle and departure angle. I don't know if we had a breakover angle in the spec. I can't remember.
And that's it, and that's the area where we're getting beat up right now, is pretty much because that lower height is what they adjusted to get the upper height,
Well,
instead of shrinking the body and all, have the body custom built. Because
The body is the body, so the height of the body doesn't affect the ride height, where it sits on the truck. So once they build the body, it's that tall, and it either fits or it doesn't our specification. They wanted to make sure that it fit our specification, so they made adjustments to the suspension to make it fit, and in that respect, that's where I believe the problem with the onspots came about. And
I actually think the on-spots were probably before him, because it, and I don't know.
It certainly
I'm just
could have
saying-
been, but I don't know.
I'm just saying logic
it,
doesn't sound right.
and obviously hindsight's being a wonderful thing, and I'm a whole lot smarter now than I was a year ago on this, or a year and a half ago. What I've learned out of this whole thing, a bunch of things about that suspension stuff, particularly that new Steer Tech suspension. It does give a better ride, it gives better cramp angles, it does a lot of good things for you. But we're also conditioned to the old style spring suspension on the front. It's what we can do to make adjustments and do things. Well, you have to look at it all differently now. Next time I run up against somebody that says, okay, we need to 9'6", no kidding in the front. But we need to have that 12-degree angle of approach on the front. I'm going to say, we can't do that. Remember that. Something's got to give somewhere. We learned the hard way that it just doesn't work. You just can't get both things at once. Yeah. When Franklin's truck was done, they had concerns about angle approach too. Similar, same towns you're all dealing with. How it was resolved on that truck is that the front bumper on that truck is only 10 inches high. So your front bumper is 12 inches high. So they narrowed up the front bumper to outsmart that one right up front. But it was also older style spring suspension that we could be doing different things with.
Right.
So, yeah, you're certainly right in your thinking.
Because I would say that if the on-spot's attached behind the axle,
They don't.
I could accept that potentially as a explanation.
Yep.
The fact that they're on the front, they're being lifted higher from the ground.
I actually tried the last time I was over here, and that
The
hose
snowstorm.
went.
Saturday.
Yeah. When the thermal hose broke and I came over on a Saturday and replaced it. I actually got underneath the truck and tried backing up to old school stuff. Tried adjusting the airbags on the back end to get the back end of the truck up in the air some. And it seemed to me at the time, and the next time I get near the truck, or we have it at my shop and I get it up in the air or something to get under it better, it seemed to me at the time that I wasn't able to make enough adjustment with the airbags for the ride height in the back to do the job. I certainly tried, but I need to be able to, it's very tight underneath that truck, so I need to be able to get up in the air a little bit to work at that a little more. My guess is, well, I'm assuming that as soon as we get new chain units in, that I'll have the truck back at the shop for a day or so, and we'll go through all that again.
Is there any secondary systems involved in this? The on-spots are activated by electric circuit and then they're powered by the wheel, right?
So it's electric circuit actuating an air cylinder that puts the arm down. The chain contacts against the wheel, you have it right.
Okay.
Yep.
I just worried, because we went through this with one of our past trucks. It got into an accident shortly after we got it, and we've been chasing that thing with money ever since.
Yeah.
And here we are starting it out, and granted, you put local springs on, but it's like, make sure it's covered as much by warranty and things like that. I just don't want
Yep.
7 years from now, start chasing a truck for another 13 years because it's just bad.
So, how do I say it?
Does Sutphen own the estate?
Yes,
Okay.
and Sutphen is paying my tab. And we are the authorized service center for Sutphen. I guess, yeah.
Right. They're accepting responsibility for this.
They are accepting responsibility, and all the records are being adjusted so that the record is clean going forward for this truck. Yes, all the warranties are good.
Okay.
Yes. When we are, I don't know what, it doesn't, they have different levels of qualifications of dealers around the country.
Yeah.
Because of our fabricating capability and our background, we're at the highest level to do any repair on any Sutphen truck with their blessing.
Okay.
Including, the biggest wreck that could be involved if it got into the frame and everything. We're their authorized service people. So in that regard, I'm fairly certain we've got you covered there.
As long as you stay in business for 20 years.
Oh, yeah. Talk to my daughter, she'll tell you I can't pretend it. I was in Randolph Center last night, Randolph Center, Vermont.
Yeah.
They're talking of replacing a truck that I built 25 years ago with a new one. So, all the same people. I know them all very well. They're good friends. What are we going to do different here? Oh, it's going to be the same truck. We're just going to make a copy of it. We like it so much. Question came up from the chief. So, Larry, how long are you going to be at this? I says, go talk to my daughter. He knows Ashley. You go talk to her. She'll tell you that I can't leave. You're stuck with me. Sorry. So, who knows? You just never know that regard.
Right.
You never know how long I'm going to be here. Harold never knew how long I was going to be here 30 years ago when I built the old engine 3 first, or did all the work on the old engine 1.
Yep.
We just don't know that stuff. We give it our best shot.
Yeah.
Good.
That'll be nice. Yep.
But I encourage you, this is good. Don't be afraid to say, Larry, come back and visit with us again. Happy to do it.
I just like to have the understanding behind it because, as I said, I don't want to be chasing behind it with money down the road.
Yep.
I mean, the other engine, ever since the accident, electrical systems, wire cablings, amongst everything. I mean, it's just one thing after another after another. So now we got this. So that's the reason why I asked about power of that. Because now we're changing it. Is it a plug and play? Or is it a hardwired inside? Is that something that I expect 3 years from now, a corrosion change? Just looking at all these potential.
So one of the things about the OnSpots that is different in our truck that is not usually done in most other trucks is the solenoid that operates the air thing is usually mounted under the truck. In ours, it's mounted inside a cabinet out of the weather, so the salt and the sodium chloride and the calcium chloride still doesn't have a chance to get at it. And that's something I learned. Yeah, less chance. And that's something that I learned when I was doing trucks down in Tewksbury, because the solenoids would rot out or corrode, and next thing you know, the things aren't working. I says, why don't we just move them inside a compartment?
Yep. And
it's easy to do.
things like the OnSpots. I've been an OnSpot dealer since OnSpot started. So we have a relationship with them, not counting the Sutphen Corp. So when we call up with a problem, we're able to get it resolved.
Right. I just worry that down the road, because this whole thing started with a bumper.
It is with a bumper.
And so now that we'll get the OnSpots fixed, what is secondary effects of that we could be chasing of a chain smashing into the wrong piece on the kickback and things like that? Or...
Well, I have a fairly good confidence level that everything that we've done, remain to do to get the back end squared away, that it will be good and reliable down the road and won't lead to other problems. Fairly good confidence level. And I'll stand behind it the best I can.
Respect that, then, yeah. Okay.
Question. We're coming to our favorite season, frost heave season. Is that going frost heaves? Is that going to affect the cans Aren't they hitting the road now?
Well, no, the part
Well, I
that's
thought
hitting
they
the
were
road
hitting the
now
road.
is when the arms are down, you're trying to use the chains.
Yeah.
So the up underneath, no, shouldn't be affected at all. Don't slow down, work it hard, it's a fire truck.
No, I was just, for some reason I had in my head that the cans were hitting the road,
No,
and that's why I was like, okay.
no,
I can-
the
right.
part that's hitting the road is as the arm is actuated by the air cylinder to
Yeah.
bring the chain wheel down against the tire, they're too low to the ground.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
so the chain wheel and the actual chain is getting bound up on the ground.
Okay. And then when the chief goes to inspect this next engine in July,
We're gonna have a bigger microscope.
but what's the stage that the engine is in? Is everything, so is he gonna be able to look at the bumper, he's gonna be able to look at the cans, the chains?
It's done.
That's
Truck is
exactly right.
finished.
The truck is basically
It'll
done.
be a completed truck.
Okay. I
It
didn't
won't
know,
leave the factory until it's right this time.
Nope.
I mean, take it for a test drive, throw the chains on it and, you know, see, find a
Yep.
bumpy road
Yep.
and, you know, whatever.
And again, that's partly bad on me.
No, do you go for that inspection?
Oh, I was there with
Yes,
him.
he does, yes.
Okay.
That's partly bad on me for being more diligent to actually get down into the fine print.
No, because I'm looking at this graphic, and I know this graphic isn't much, but the rear wheels are sitting on top of, the rear is sitting on top of the wheels. It's not level.
Gotcha.
Well, it's little things, you know, it's paying attention to details. That's all. I appreciate you coming here.
Yes.
Oh, my
I
pleasure.
think,
Yeah. Happy to
having
do
you
it.
here was to get the entire board to, you know, be behind this, because,
I have to admit though, this is the first time I've ever been in this building for a meeting with the commissioners. Always in the past, it was over at the station.
we're
All the
banned from the
years that
station
I've been
thanks to
in
COVID.
meetings years ago with when the commissioners were
Yeah,
involved.
they used to have it upstairs.
Yep.
Plus it's dinner time, they'd have to feed us, so.
Can't get back to.
Back then, I don't think they had
It's
full
not.
time back then.
Oh, no. First time I was in meetings in that building is before the other building.
Oh,
Is back when this was the
Yeah.
only station.
So, no, I appreciate you coming out here, I think the other members
Yes.
do as well, and, you know, it's just good to get the, you know, someone local, just to, and I think, I'm old school, so, you know, the handshake type thing,
Don't ever be afraid to call me.
well, that's what he does.
We have a very good relationship, we talk often.
Lost the chief, ignore. So, and I just hear you say that you came out here on Saturday to replace a coolant hose, is that what he
Yeah,
said?
well, 2 weeks ago now. on
During the middle of the last big storm that we had.
Yeah.
I know, I feel like we had a big storm last night, so I have no idea.
Where did we break on that one?
That's,
One of the heater hoses.
So
going to
but that just, I mean, you come out here on a Saturday, that speaks volumes.
Well, yeah, the heater hose that supplies the coolant to the heater inside the pump compartment
Okay.
had basically cut itself right off at the fitting on the side of the motor. Jonathan called me in the morning. It was a time when there was that bad weather Saturday where I wasn't doing anything in the shop anyhow that morning. It was easy for me to just get a bunch of supplies together and come over here and take care of it and be done.
Where you located?
Cornish,
Oh, so it's a little bit of a ride.
an hour and 10 minutes, not far.
Well, hopefully we don't see you over here too often. And it's not because we don't like you. It's just.
It's a truck. Things break on a truck. That's the nature of it.
Right.
And in the fire service, we all tend to use our trucks a little harder than some other occupations.
So
So
it's a
things
new
happen.
truck is my concern with it.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 years from now, a break, I could accept a little bit easier. 2 or 3 months on site, it's like, oh.
Yeah.
So,
We'll take care of it the best we can.
no, I expect you will.
I saw a car on the way here tonight that had a paper plate on it, and has a nice new door that's gonna be getting pretty soon. Some of the sites were.
Oh, wow.
Alright.
Well, thank you, I appreciate you coming.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
I do
My-
appreciate
My
that.
pleasure. Happy to do it. Good to see you again, Paul.
Yeah.
Been a while.
It's been a long time. I
think
forget what year that truck was, but
Well, no, I think last time I saw you, I had a chance to visit Quick Like, there was a lot of people there, it was Kevin's retirement party.
oh yeah, that's right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do remember. I'll never forget that engine 3. When you brought that down, we had a structure fire.
That's
And
correct.
me and you went, and that's.
And we
I
were working
know-
that truck that day.
Yeah, we worked the truck that day.
It was brand new.
Brand spanking right off the line. Yep. Yeah, I'll never forget that.
But that's a couple days ago.
That was a few days.
That's a good
I'll go home
Mexican.
and leave you.
There's a good Mexican restaurant right there if you need Mexican food.
Okay,
Casa Amigos.
I think my wife's waiting for me.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank
very
you
much,
all.
Larry. See you later.
thank you, Larry.
Nice seeing you.
Take care.
Right. Thank you, Chief, for having him come in.
You're welcome.
Yeah, moving on. Correspondence, 1/13/20.
Actually, the date is February 7th.
Okay, February 7th, REI Service Corporation. I'm assuming everyone got the email
No, I didn't see it today.
with the letter from, oh, I already
Alan
forgot
Clark.
his name now.
Alan Clark.
Alan Clark, I was gonna say Larry Clark, that was Larry. Alan Clark. I did not print it out, do you have extra copies, or?
I did not print extra copies, I do have one copy with me.
I have one copy with me.
No, just read it real quick. Paul, did you read it?
No, I didn't read it either.
All right, I'll let you
I
guys.
should have brought copies of it.
That's it. The one that you don't pick, pass me away all these copies, but that's okay. I have it on my phone if I need to. But I read it once last night, and that was enough. That letter was from, email from you, right?
Yes.
Okay. I found the right one. I sleep longer in my email. So, what do we think?
If I could ask the committee, you guys were shooting for the 4 million? Is that what you're shooting for?
I guess my question is, where did we come up with a number? I thought the idea was to go in this,
The 4 million was a rough idea of what they were going for, because the 4.5 was too high. I can tell you what I have a problem with this letter. Did Alan do this study of Route 3 and all that? Because that sounds like information I'm hearing from someone else on a regular basis.
Do what study are you referring to?
So Alan said that under everything he's checked into, he's the one to look at in a single station at Park Street is not effectively served district, which is spread out geographically. The Park Street station has significant designs, I agree with that. Much of the growth will be underutilized properties, Route 3 corridor. All this stuff is stuff we keep hearing from you.
I have not, I can give, if you want, I'll give you every email that we've exchanged since this process is. I've given him nothing about that at whatsoever. The only information I told him was is everything from previous building committees or whatever are online, available wherever that is. The only thing I've given him was the I forwarded to him was the engineering report from the engineers that did the ground thing. He found everything else all on his own. I didn't give him anything.
How did he find out about this project?
He said he found out originally in the first email by, well, he's friends with Jeannie Forrester. Start with that.
Okay, I'm not familiar with her.
She's the
She's the
town
town
administrator for town of Tilton.
Oh, okay.
But he said in his email to me that he was researching stuff and hearing stuff online about that we were looking to build a fire station. And I believe I forwarded that email to the commissioners.
You may have, there's lots of email.
And that's when I talked to the chairman and asked him if he wanted Alan Clark to come and visit the selectmen, which he did. And then you wanted him to visit with the building committee, which he
Mhm.
did.
Yep.
And then after the building committee's recommendation, he came back here,
Yep.
which he did,
Yep.
with a proposal. And then when he left that night, shortly thereafter, he contacted me saying that he's probably going to withdraw his proposal. And I talked to you about
Yes,
that
you did.
at our budget meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And then on Monday, I got this letter. I do know Alan Clark. He's a fire chief, a member of the Fire Chiefs Association, which I'm president of, and he serves on a couple of committees for the state where he's appointed by the governor through recommendation of the Fire Chiefs Association. He's basically an authority on the codes, and he's the chairman also of the commission that oversees the fire academy and training and stuff like that.
It's unfortunate that he backed out. Nothing we can do about that he backed out. He's a businessman, he chose to do that.
I guess my thought is, I know we talked about this in great length. How are you gonna present this to the people if we don't have a number?
Which is part of why there was kind of a cap.
But you don't know what you're building, so how the hell do you come up with a number if you don't know what you're building?
We have other people on the committee that are part of the construction, and when I mentioned the price to one of them, that he's like, was asking, I'm like, yeah. He said we can't build it for $4 million, his jaw dropped too. This district, what we talked about was renovating Park Street and adding on to Park Street. Yes, you'll have to bring a lot of systems up to current code. The report that was put out was saying that that wouldn't be the one fit all for this district for the rest of its life. It said that down the road, there would probably have to be an expansion of some kind, but that would be down the road. But we need to get out of Center Street, period.
I get that, but again, we don't know what we're building. We don't have any plans, you don't have any costs of anything, so how do you set a price? That's the
We had
idea.
4.5 before and it failed. We went even higher than that and it failed. And you had plans. The public here doesn't want to pay the big dollars.
Well, they got a surprise coming. Because every year they put it off, it's gonna go higher and higher.
Mhm.
You know, I was just involved in a police building. $5 million. 12,000 square foot. Obviously, I know it's gonna be different than that, but it's a 12,000 square foot building. Whatever the cost is per foot, that's what it costs. And construction costs today, I sent that, did I text you a link today?
Yes.
The town of Bristol's building a life safety building, and I think the price tag on that was $4.2 million. I mean, I didn't go into the details, I just saw it and I said, oh, that's.
So they're building a public safety.
Life safety building,
Life safety, so fire and police for 4.2?
4.2, but I don't know how big it is, I don't know any details, I don't know
But
any
once
details.
again, so now you have dual systems into a building for 4.2. That's what they're trying to do over there with the district, the station committee. You just said they did it for 4, and that's what we said, we want to go for about 4.
Right, but we don't know, but this is a final product, they know how much their cost is gonna be. We don't know what our costs are gonna be. We don't know.
You're right.
So I think it was premature to say, oh, $4 million. You come up and then you say, oh, well, wait a minute, that's more than we thought it was gonna be, and let's pare it back.
So the police station cost, if it's rounded at 5 million and it's 12,000 square feet, it's $416 per square foot.
So in the station committee meeting, never once was a cap brought up.
Was it in the minutes at all? Because
No, because we talked about what we were trying to do. We talked about prior costs and how they failed. When he said $4 million here, my jaw dropped, because it's like, you can't build it for $4 million. It's like, that would have been nice to say in front of the station committee. That was never brought up in front of the station committee.
I wonder where he got that information.
Well,
it wasn't for me.
No, I'm not.
we were talking that we wanted to build it, but there wasn't a cap. We told him 4 in the past failed, 6 in the past failed. To sit right here and say $4 million, can't do it, just like that, was completely out of the blue, shock, and it shocked another committee member too.
Well, my first thought was, well, how do you know? Because we don't even know what we're putting in there yet, you know? Maybe we're gonna use sawdust pilings, I don't know, I'm just saying.
He said he reviewed
He said.
previous building committee meeting minutes, commissioners' minutes,
Yeah.
and anything else that he could find online. That's how he got his information, because I had a long conversation with him on Monday, and the information that he gleaned from those documents, and he said he also knows people in both towns, because he's done business here before, talking to some folks in both towns, and after that, he felt like this was, if you were holding firm to just throwing an addition onto Park Street and trying to holding it to a $4 million cap, he says it's a loser, and it won't pass.
So he doesn't want his name on a potential. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe this district does need an addition onto Park Street, and that's what the public wants. Maybe they don't want a whole new station. Maybe they don't want 2 stations because of Manning.
Maybe they don't, but at this point, we probably need to go back, start from scratch.
Yep, back to the design build, which is where they were going before. This was a tool that would have been very beneficial to the process, absolutely.
Right.
It strikes me is when you go there in front of the public, you say, you know, we want to build a station for 4.2 million, let's say. And, okay, you start building, well, I run out of money, then what? Because you haven't finished. You got to have something to, you can't just go in there and say, I want 4 million to build a
No.
station, because you don't know what you're going to build for
It was
4
a
million.
guide of what to build towards. If he had said, nope, I think you could do it for 4.5 or 5, there was no ever a cap number out of him. It was just that one time of saying, you can't do it for 4 million, that's it. And he didn't even have conceptuals what it is. We're essentially need to add equivalent of 2 more bays over there, dorm and admin.
Well, that's your opinion. I don't necessarily agree with that.
Well, that's fine, you can disagree with it, however, the committee came up with that and the commissioners went with that. So you will follow what the guidance was, instead of saying otherwise and putting a letter out.
Whoa. Calm down, John. Take it down.
You have put letters out and tried to dismantle what the committee put.
I have given official letters to committees or the commissions as to what my opinion is.
You were part of the committee, and so whether you
I
got.
was a non-voting member of the committee. I was able to give my advice, and I did.
Okay.
That advice hasn't changed. In fact, it's probably more codified. What I thought is probably closer to what should be happening than what some others have thought it should be happening.
I believe that, well, I think we talked, is it DPS?
Yes.
On paper, you keep it.
Key.
Yes.
Yeah, and he was, and I don't know what his role was at the time.
He's kind of explaining the process.
Right, but he was talking about the existing building there, and he was giving, it wasn't giving costs or anything like that, but he was giving, for lack of a better word, his professional opinion on what had to be done to that building.
Mhm.
and no decisions were made, but that sticks in my head that, you know, building an addition on didn't seem, and again, this is just my memory, didn't seem prudent, for lack of a better word. But now we're back to almost square one,
Mhm.
and I don't know if, you know, I thought we had another company that came in.
We had companies come in, but that was put on hold temporarily, waiting on this process, because they would be like part of step 3, step 4, step 5 down the road of submitting a bid based on after the initial stuff that he would have generated of needs versus wants, things like that, and then you would reach out to those other companies.
Was there another company like him out there?
There potentially is. Or your design build people, that's part of what they should be doing
Yeah,
as
but
part
there
of
was
it.
another company that we had, I can't think of the name of the company.
The station committee has quite a few.
I know, but there was someone that came here.
Oh, just Kyle Barker was the only other person that ever came here. Keith and Kyle Barker.
Who were they?
Kyle Barker used to be with,
Was he the architect?
He was the
Yes.
original architect.
No, this is just recently, we had someone,
Chief-
oh, maybe he was from the association, or someone else that came from,
Kevin Kate came and spoke.
but was it the guy from
Chief
BPS?
McVeigh
Was he the
from
one that came?
BPS,
He was the
one.
he was the only other person that
Okay,
I've spoken before the commissioners.
so I just keep getting him stuck in my head, so.
Yeah.
I mean, did we talk to him? I don't know. Does the station committee talk to him? Did the commissioners talk to him? We have a joint meeting? I mean,
Somehow you gotta get a design, some type of a design, so you can get a number.
Yeah.
Simple
It
as
may
that.
not happen, it probably won't happen for this market.
No, probably not.
It won't.
No.
He was working on getting the stuff pretty much for next year. There's just no, it's not happening this year.
no, but now is that putting us 2 years out? I think because next year you're gonna have to give them an update, and then, okay, you know,
The most important thing, I think, is if whatever we decide to do, whatever the commissioners decide to go forward with, it should be, let's do it right, or let's just not do it at all. Because every time you do something that isn't really the right way of doing it, you end up paying for it in the long term, over and over again. And I think that's probably the most important thing. And perhaps we should look for somebody else, someone who does something like what Alan Clark does, to come in and facilitate the process to find out the difference between needs and wants and things like that, and which, I can save you the comments for that later, but
do we reach
needs
out?
and wants are subjective.
Do we reach out to
sometimes.
BPS or do we have to put it out to bid?
When you're reaching, I think that the problem is that when you're reaching out to them without having this information, you're losing opportunities down the road of them really stepping in. Because first off, this is a business, so each time you reach out to 2 or 3 different people, it's kind of like a slap in the face when you now go away from what they gave you for information. And if you do it too many times, they're just going to say no when the time for the final product comes. It's just one of the downsides to it. It's like, okay, can you give me an estimate on this? All right, thanks. Hey, he said he can do it for this, can you do it for less?
Yeah,
That just, it creates bad blood.
No, I know that, but we've worked with BPS in the past for the Mansell Road, that plan, we were kind of working with them. And also, I think over here.
Clark's, they did
They just-
estimates, and they worked with Kyle Barker
Yeah.
to develop
I think they were one of the
conceptuals,
originals.
Yes.
conceptuals and estimates, and that's how we developed the warrant
1
articles.
million for the substation over there.
Yeah. No, I'm sure that's a different number today.
Oh, I would expect at least a 150%. At minimum, I would expect that.
I would expect that, but at the same time, I have really no idea at this point.
Oh, I have no idea.
I really don't.
It's all cost of goods. Labor is your biggest.
Labor is a problem.
Cost of goods are coming back down, but
Right.
labor is No, nor will it ever.
Of course not. I mean, why would you? Nobody wants to go back.
No, it's, yeah, I'll work less.
So we probably have to see if there's another one out there, or look at design-built firms.
I think before we get there, we still need to kind of determine needs and wants and things like that. I can contact Mr. Clark and see if he can recommend other companies of his like that will work in New Hampshire, and see if he can give me a list. He's got contacts throughout the entire state.
What was that other company that he mentioned in Jackson?
He mentioned
Was it Jackson?
an architectural firm or an engineering firm that he says, don't use this engineering firm,
Right.
whatever you do, don't use this engineering firm. I have to get the name of it off the top of my head,
Oh, I
but
thought it was another person, another company like what he does.
I'm sure there's other companies out there.
No, I'm sure there are too,
There's
but.
too, I'll send him an email, and ask if he can give us recommendations on something like that, and we can look at that going forward.
So one of the biggest things he was bringing initially to the table was how to figure out what you want to design.
Yeah, he would, I mean,
And he was kind of help navigate that process. That's one of the biggest things that losing out of this early on in the process is what you need and what it, because everyone has their personal, what they want. It's what's the overall needs to be in there, and then, okay, if you were able to have that little bit extra money in there, you can adjust to this, that would be nice, but what is the absolute minimum?
right, but that's like, that's what you go and you do your add-ons to where.
Options, you call them
Change, yeah, but.
When
like-
I've built other fire stations, that we call them options. So you design it with the option there, but that you can add on to it if you have this money left over, as long as you don't get too far into the project and stuff like that.
Right, like, do you like use a shingle, oh wait, you know, we have extra money, okay, we'll use an architectural shingle or a metal roof because it'll last longer, and,
Right.
you know, or we'll put, you know, two more windows, I don't know, I'm just saying.
Triple pane instead of double pane or
Yeah.
something.
Right.
Or glass instead of screen, you know, that type of stuff.
Because there's different things that the building committee had thought of before with this station, to build the garages onto it and build your admin and dorm space in the existing shell. Bring that up to code with that current shell and do your garages on the other side where you'd have your higher bays, you'd have your solid floor, you'd have your drainage, your exhaust systems, things like that, and then use the four cross bay shell for your dorm space, things like that.
But now, according to his letter, you know, it almost sounds like the existing building has to be torn down from scratch and started over from scratch. I mean,
In his discussion with me, he feels that that would be the best way to go, but,
and maybe that is.
and so, and other people have said that as well.
It might be, but it might not also be. The biggest thing I take from this letter is he's saying that that's the wrong place to have a station. And that's the part that is sending me, can be like a fuse to me.
I'm more
Because-
concerned about, you know.
I wonder where that information comes from.
I don't know. He's not here?
Yep.
I don't know. I'm not gonna
Yep.
worry about it.
Well, no, I've never given them anything, but if you go online in certain places, you're gonna find, you know,
Mm-hmm.
incidents by location, pie charts and things like that, which are out there from, I don't know how many years I've been doing them.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at the pie chart, you got the village district, and basically the big parts of the pie of exit 20 in the village district, and then everything else is like this big. You could make assumptions just from that.
Well, I mean, if you think of the future, there's a couple of big projects, and one in each town that I can think of that are down the pike, for lack of a better word, are both that end of town. You know, on the other side of 93. You know, I don't know what one will make for calls, but the other one I would think be more residential would be more calls for service. So, I don't think the other one will have some, I'm sure it'll have some.
I think that would be a better place, and the committee even said that it might be a better place, but the property wasn't available. You have the property here. The cost of property alone is astronomical, utilities and all that.
Well, what if there was property available?
Then we would start all over with the station committee all over again. And it's probably gonna be available 2 years from now.
Probably. I think so.
I still think, my opinion is, Park Street, we own it. To do something there, and I'm not gonna give it time, but eventually do something someplace else.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
And that's
We
what.
don't have to have the best down there. You know, we get by, you know, it don't have to be the Taj Mahal, but there again, make it adequate, because anything's better than what's here, anything. And eventually, yeah, a substation.
Yeah. And that was.
And it'll happen eventually, I mean, it's just a matter of time.
And the findings of the station committee 2 years ago said that. That's
Yeah.
what they would like to do.
Yeah.
But not having that option, at least this is the first way to go.
That's right.
And get a 30-year, 40-year station going, and then 15 years, 20 years from now, yeah, you put something over there, absolutely. By then, things could change, manning could change, you could have more manpower where you could split them up and be able to operate. There's all kinds, absolutely.
And maybe that, you know, and there again, the way I look at it, maybe it ain't the best spot down there,
I agree.
but look at the other towns, look at Belmont, where Belmont's fire station is. It does not, all your stuff is up on Route 3.
Yeah, but the Winnisquam station, when they built that, was still open.
You're right, it was, but it doesn't do any good now, it's been like that for a number of years.
Yeah.
And that's where all the action is, right there, up there. I mean, I see them go by every day.
Yep.
And there's other ones, I mean, you take other places the same way.
Mhm.
Maybe there's opportunities for us to talk to those departments. If there's a lot of stuff going on in that end of town, it might be a great opportunity to have those conversations. It's going to impact all of us.
Mhm.
I mean, they talked at one time, they're taking some people from Belmont, Samerton, and
Right.
Tilton and put them up there, because it would help the community up around there. But nothing ever become of that, so. So I guess you guys gotta regroup.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that would help you that way.
Yeah.
Come up with some type of number and design or something.
Yeah, but I can't go into that now, can I?
We are going to have a non-plug
Oh, yeah, okay,
later in this evening.
okay. I'll spill my guts later on.
Under what topic?
I have to figure that out yet. I don't have the code for non-public, do you?
Of course I do.
I don't? Yes. All right. All right. Beaten, dead. Are we all set with REI? Moving on? Okay.
I put together for the commissioners to review the PowerPoint that is shown, for your review for the, at the district meeting, and I want to go through it to make sure that if there are any edits or changes that you want me to make before a thing. So if you want to go to the first page, everything is correct except highlighted in yellow. We won't know until after our audit. So those numbers will change. These are actually numbers from last year.
When's the audit date? I know we talked about it
This
Friday
is
night.
coming up this week.
That's
Starting.
tomorrow.
Starting tomorrow.
So you'll have it done before the 12th, or?
We'll have it done before district meeting, because once they come in, they do their audit, they take all that stuff and they go away for a while. Then they come back and give us a report and all their
Put in a
findings.
pot, stir it, and give us a report.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll have it before district meeting, and so those numbers will be whatever they say they should be.
Now, the ambulance and apparatus there, that's 830,409. That's what we got to date,
That's what's in the bank right now,
and
I think. I have to go look at
I thought
that.
it was lower.
It should, I thought it was 400 or something.
Yeah. I thought it was.
The apparatus and equipment fund, it's 400 and something.
Yeah, this was probably last year's number. They fixed that.
So what is it, Kathy?
It's 400
400
and
and
something, I
something.
don't have the.
So that'll be changed?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a mistake. That's
And
why we're
have we
here.
paid
One I
for
missed.
the engine one already?
yes,
Okay, so
And
that's
ambulance-
after we paid for that.
ambulance?
yes.
Okay.
The
Ambulance
ambulance
is-
has not been paid for,
Okay.
that's all.
How much is that? 250?
It's an amount up to 285, but it won't be that.
Okay.
And that'll have to come out of that 400.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think it's a good idea just to explain that to people, though. What is coming out of there, so that we know what the balance is. I mean, they looked at, say, 400, yeah, I got 400,000 in there,
Minus
minus,
35.
yeah.
Hold that thought.
The land and building, well, that's what we got in there right now.
Correct.
So you have a revenue,
What is last year's revenue number?
right, but I didn't know if you could put, this is what I was looking for, just to see if you had something like this, but, maybe put what 2019's revenue was? So you can see, I mean, this is almost 100, it's 86,000?
73,000 more.
73,000, yeah, I suck at that. No, you sure it's 73?
We collect, last year, we collected 73,000 more, or approximately.
Oh, from over 2019?
Over 2021 revenues were about 73,000 more than 2020 revenue. Which I gave you, it's in my report that I gave you last week.
It's 85,000, 19, but 21 over 20. Okay. So it's the first time we've collected over $500,000 in revenue. Now, is that, so we transported more patients?
Well, I can, when we get down to that area, we can discuss it, so,
Sorry.
so we don't go out of order.
Nope.
So we'll make sure all these numbers are correct before everything, but this is kind of what it's gonna look like. Next page, I just showed them a picture of engine 2, new engine. Next page, basically tell them how many incidents we went to last year. Next page, how many times we received mutual aid or gave mutual aid. That's total, that's ambulance or engines or whatever.
I wonder if there's any way you can kind of break, if somebody's gonna ask, well, how many medical
Yes,
calls?
so
are-
later on in the show, it
Okay.
breaks it down a little bit more.
Okay.
Then the next slide is how many of each type of incidents.
I didn't put on this one. So when I'm looking at the pie chart,
Mm-hmm.
and then you'll, on the side,
Yep.
if you could sequentially change your sequence over here, because right now you have fire, and then you skip 2 to get to explosion, or, okay, wait a second, okay, so your number 6 is your explosion, it's just the color, can't see it, so you were going clockwise.
Yeah,
Around
so these. if
Okay,
you-
never mind, then it works out, I couldn't tell,
Oh, okay.
but I just wanted to make sure that as you're following in one direction or another, it kind of follows it, because that's the hardest thing with pie charts when you put them up on PowerPoint, is trying to figure out what's what.
Sure.
So you're starting at 12 o'clock and going clockwise around based on,
Yes.
okay. And just if you can explain that so that people can see it, because they won't be able to see the color very well.
Yeah, it'd be a lot bigger on the screen, I assume.
You lose brightness. That's the biggest thing I find with pie charts, and when you have colors very close together, so.
And
But
there's,
you
there's
got
some
right.
zeros in there too that like, all you see, it's a line that has a zero sign to
Yeah.
it. But these are the NINFRS categories, fire, explosion, EMS, MVA, they go 1 through 900.
Yep.
And that's how it's, software breaks them down.
What do we got for weather?
So weather-related emergencies would be like,
We had one, I'm just trying to think what we had, didn't have any tornadoes or anything.
I don't know, I'd have to go into the actual report to figure that out.
That will work is just when someone talks to it, the type of incidents is just narrating people to it. It's like, okay, your list on the side, fire starting at 12 o'clock and going around clockwise.
Correct.
Okay, no, that helps dramatically.
Sure. The next pie chart is incident locations, and this really hasn't changed over the past few years. The percentage numbers fluctuate minutely, but as you can, there's one thing there, you know, basically 62% of the calls are in Tilton, 38% of the calls are in Northfield, and then going clockwise, the village district, 39% of the calls are in the village district, then 36% of the calls are down by the exit 20 area, 17% you go out into West Northfield, out by Oak Hill Road, that area there, and then 8% of all of our calls are mutual aid, going out of town.
So your first one where it says 62%, how is that reflected in this chart?
It's not, it's just a statement. It's got an arrow pointing to it, but I can't make, I've been trying to get rid of it. It should be just a box, but I'm trying to, there's no arrow pointing to it. It's just informational saying that of all the calls that we've had within the two communities, the two individual towns, 62% of the calls that were in the Tilton Northfield Fire District went to the town of Tilton, and 38% of all those calls went to the town of Northfield.
Yes.
I could do a separate pie chart for that if you wanted.
I guess we're gonna make Tilton pay a little bit more.
No, I have a problem with that because your village district is a little bit of Northfield and Tilton, right?
Yep.
Okay, so by doing that 62%, that's skewing everything you're doing with all this because you're talking the
It's a
area.
separate number entirely.
Yeah, but the village district gets 39%, which is near Center Street and Park Street.
Yep.
East of the North District gets 36%. That's Tilton and Northfield of that 36%.
Yep.
West and south of the district, that's mostly Tilton, I
Yes.
think, and the south, you know, so it's mostly, so that's
That's West
Tilton.
Main Street
Yeah.
and Oak Hill Road.
So that's Tilton.
So all these
Northfield.
pie charts all
Northfield.
contain parts of both towns.
Right,
But if you want to say, how many calls did we do in Tilton by itself? 62% of that number.
right. Has to be completely isolated from that because when you start talking village district, that is Tilton and Northfield. And that's how, when I look at this and see that 63% of the calls, I'm like, okay, yeah, it absolutely has to be disassociated from the pie chart. You gotta,
Well, I can make a separate pie chart for that. Make a separate one.
you may not even need a pie chart, you may just need to be able to say 62 and 38. I mean, one of the worst things they do with the school district PowerPoint is just graphs and bar charts and all that stuff. It's like, keep it very simple and get through the informational part.
Sure. All right, the next slide is incidents by day. And you can see the difference between the busiest day was Monday last year, and the quietest day was Sunday and Friday. But the difference between days is really only 3% from greatest to least, so our calls are pretty evenly distributed.
Yeah, I don't even think you need that.
A lot of people ask me, "Oh, what's your busiest day?" It's gotta be Saturday, gotta be Saturday. And I says, no, it's hardly ever Saturday, it's usually a weekday. And so this is one of the things that, like, a lot of people ask me, what's the busiest day that you guys have? So that's why I have that in there. It shows they're all busy, they're all the same. There's not
That's the
one's really
thing, is
busy
that
than
there's
the
not
other.
one that's dramatically out like that. If there was, then absolutely, but they're all about the same, plus or minus. Like 1%, 2%. It's all plus or minus, and it could vary. This year it was a Monday, because people were going back to work.
Last year was a Wednesday.
Right.
The year before that, it was a Tuesday.
It really doesn't have relevance on operation of the,
It's
because
just information. It's
your
nothing.
crew is around the clock. It's not like you're a Monday through Friday crew, and then Saturday and Sunday is just to call people. Because you have, now the advantage is if your Saturday and Sundays are more, that's where you can build up the fact that you have called people and able to assist. It's more your time, but I just find this is irrelevant additional fodder in there that people are going to be like, are we done yet?
Next slide.
Well, what are the others? Do you guys think it needs to be in there or not?
With this,
Yeah.
it's probably the least exciting one for me, because I know that
Yeah.
every day is busy, but I do know that there's some people that, the data, like, people that just want that. I was actually gonna go back to the instant locations, just for a quick second. I didn't know if there was a map of the district that you have, then you could highlight
I
where
wish I
that
could
is.
do that, but I can't.
Okay. But I thought,
I don't have the software to do like a dot for every call on.
no, I'm just talking
Breaking out
about
by-
just overlay. Okay,
Yeah.
your green pie is west and
Right.
south of the village district, so show that where that
Yeah,
physically is.
I'd have to, I don't have that capability. Maybe Sean Goodwin at 911 has that capability, but I don't.
Or Lakes Region Mutual, or
No, they don't.
they don't have Cameo, or things like that?
They're not, no, they don't. Not Camden.
Or whatever the equivalent is now?
No, they have, they do have a GIS type of thing, but it doesn't plot data that way. They use it for pinning cell phone calls.
Right. I think what Eric was getting at, if I'm understanding right, is a map of Tilton Northfield side by side, and then just highlighted what the village district is. So an overshadow on that. What the east of, you kind of trace it out, highlight it, and that's going to be a shade of yellow. This one's going to be a shade of blue, so if people can see what it is.
I'll talk to Sean Goodwin and see if he can do that for me.
I don't want to
'Cause
see,
I don't,
I want to see pinpoint of everywhere
No,
every call.
no.
I don't.
You just want to see each section colored.
I just want to see.
Or
yeah,
so
just-
people can
So
see
people-
what they see. Okay, East
Right, so
District
they're
is.
looking at the
like
two
that map right
towns
there.
and
Just saying if
it's
that was
full.
that, just color
yeah,
over.
so I think 911 can do that for me.
I'll just be.
I don't have that capability.
Thought I'd ask. It didn't hurt.
Yeah, because I agree with you. That would be a lot better than
It's a
looking at
visual, it's a
PowerPoint.
visual.
Absolutely. So when they're looking at the 1 mile of the district, you have that little, they may have a gray area or whatever, and then you're showing your west side. It will.
Like, I know I live in the village district 1 mile radius. I know I live there.
Right. I can look on the map. Oh yeah, so that's where I am. Yeah, that would be a much better visual than a pad.
Because we started mentioning Oak Hill and Bean Hill, for some reason in my head, I went out to 140. And I know, it's the second time that I have gone backwards in my.
I'm in the lost kingdom of Northfield.
Yeah, you're in Belmont, right?
I am.
They'd be first. Like, I don't even know where you live, where that would fall in here.
It would be
It should be east, I would think.
east.
Yep, Shaker Road, yeah, out
Yeah.
beyond Shaker Road and then some. Shaker Road stops and we keep going.
Well, like, see, it gets confusing because it says, like, okay, Lancaster Hill Road, which I know is over there, and then Shaker Road, oh, no, that's over there.
Right.
So, and then Knowles Pond Road, oh, that's over there.
That's why I think a
All
map
all
would be
east,
so
all east
beneficial.
of the village district area.
Yeah, that would be a great beneficial and just a slight shade of the different ones and then you can have what it is and people will be able to associate.
You could show it, I don't think you get it on one page, but when we have the run cards, with the zone. though.
Yeah, I know, I tried to use that.
Yeah,
It
just
just
wasn't
doesn't,
You can't shrink it, it can't be shrunk down.
Well, we have the towns with each zone, but they're all separate cards, so we have like, every zone here
It's
has a
supposed to
different
be.
color, yeah. So you have 6 pages or whatever.
No,
No.
that's,
yeah, it would be more confusing.
So that they could see something like that with the two of them side by side, Tilton Northfield, and, yeah. Yeah, I like that a lot better.
4 o'clock. Are we on the hour?
Yeah, so next slide, incidents by hours, and you can see where our quietest and busiest times are.
4 o'clock, one for the second year in a row, I believe.
No, last year it was 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
The year before that was 4 o'clock. But generally, the afternoon is generally our busiest time. That's where we get a lot of simultaneous or multiple calls.
That'd be interesting to see where your simultaneous calls, if you could craft that. All right, I'll shut up. I just felt Catherine stabbed me in the eye. Yeah, I did. Okay. I know that, did they have a call this morning for that accident over my place? I didn't get the text for it, so it's like, oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not working.
Yeah, it's kind
Sounds
of
like-
hit or miss with that now.
I was like, oh.
Time responding?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the CAD system.
Guy came up over the hill and playing a Honda, I was like, oh wow, what happened here? So,
Next slide is the average arrival to on-scene times. And for our first call, it averages out to 6 minutes, 20 seconds. And then if there's a simultaneous incident or a second call right on top of it, the average arrival to on-scene is 7 minutes, 48 seconds.
Why would it be more?
Because the people are busy already, and it takes longer to get to that call. We're already doing something.
it used to take us like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So what is your metric for that? 6 minutes from what?
6 minutes from the time we are toned
So 6 minutes from time toned,
to the time on scene.
and with that, that's from anywhere, anytime, whether they're sleeping in bed and they throw on some day clothes to get downstairs, go down the stairs, down and out into
Yes.
a truck or into the ambulance, and shoot over to,
Wherever. Yes.
okay.
To your house.
No,
A
I'm
lot
putting
longer. That would be a
Someone,
lot.
someone has me loaded in the ambulance, or they're rolling out the stretcher for Northfield to load in the ambulance. Because that comes into play for other stuff when we're talking about stations and all that, because right now you're probably losing about 2 minutes of when they get jarred out of bed, day clothes, grabbed on real quick, get out through the day room, down the stairs, get to their medical turnout gear.
So if you go back to the average
Yep.
when it is on time, so during the daytime hours, that turnout time
Yep.
is certainly a lot quicker than it is at 3 o'clock in the
Correct.
morning. And so it has a positive, during the day, it lessens that response time, and at night time, that response time is longer.
Mhm.
But if you take all of the calls and do an average, because that's how the software does it, it's an average of all the calls, that's just how it works out.
You know what really bothers me? All these years, I think about this. You name me one profession that you can sleep at night and get paid. Cop does not do that. The only profession I can think of is if you're in the military. I can't think, I've wrecked my brain on trying to figure that out.
Dart,
And who come up with an idea like that? Usually you work.
I worked private ambulance for probably 15 years. You get to sleep at night.
Really?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have a buddy that was a cop, he slept in his car. He just knew where to hide.
So the joke we had with the police officers in Tewksbury, and I don't know if it would hold the same water here, is The only difference between my bed and your bed are the size of the wheels.
It's
It's, but
I
It's
just-
because you want them there rather than the travel time too, like a call member. Because if you're just on call, then yeah, you might have someone that shoots over to there first, but you still need someone to go
Well,
get there.
Look at it this way, if I was gonna be a firefighter, I'd rather work the night shift. Chances are you get to sleep, I'm not saying all the time, because you might have a couple calls, I'll call it to. You get up, you go get another job, because you're refreshed all day.
Well, most of them do, but the
Well-
problem is when you do that and then you have 6 calls that night, you're really hurting the next day.
I understand, I've been through that a lot, because I used to work, and I used to go to all the calls, but all I'm saying is, it's quite.
One of the big things that have really helped us out as far as the response times at night is the pre-alert now. Before, you just get that dispatch, and
Right.
you know, we get as soon as it comes in through, you pre-alert us with a tone so we can get out of bed, you can use the bathroom, you get your stuff on.
Does that count towards your response time?
no,
So
it's counted towards the overall time of the call. So the actual incident starts when the 911 operator answers the call. That's called call taking time. And from 911, it then gets transferred to the dispatching agency, wherever that is in the state.
Concord
And
or like
Concord,
Region or
Lakes,
Steamboat,
Southwest,
yeah.
Rockingham, Grafton County. And then from the time that it takes the dispatcher to input it into their computer, they do get a download from 911, but then they have to add a differential stuff. They actually take over the call. They can talk to the person calling on 911 or share the call with 911 with the person. And then they set up the tones, they look up the run card, set up the tones, and then if it's a medical, while they're talking, they do a pre-alert, which is, our pages go off, but nothing comes up. So that means we know it's a medical call, and they're still taking information. So that means get ready, go to the ambulance, and they get in the ambulance, they start the ambulance up, they open the door, they go out, they close the door, and they sit in the ambulance waiting for the second tone, which actually tells them what the incident is and where it's located and all that kind of stuff. At that second tone, when they're actually giving you the address, that's the time it starts for us,
For dispatch
the
time.
dispatch time.
if it's
Dispatch to arrival.
if it's a fire call, there's no pre-tone, you just get told to go.
There's no pre-tone for fires, it's only medicals.
So there's quite a lapse time in between the 911 and.
Oh, yeah, so there are a lot of people that complain about the time. I called 911 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And it took you 15 minutes to get here. Now, then when you go look at the records, no, it only took us, 7 minutes to get here. What are you talking 15 minutes? That other 8 minutes or whatever it was, is that 911 was trying to get information on their location or trying to give them directions about other things while they're transferring the data to the dispatching agency. Sometimes their location is wrong. There's all kinds of problems that come up with dispatching, but from the time we get the call, the tone for us to go to wherever it is, it's the, our turnout time and travel time is really what it takes us to get there. We're not hanging out unless we have multiple calls going on, which happens quite, like last month, 60-something% of our calls were simultaneous calls. We were really busy last month, where you might be waiting for somebody to show up because we're spread out. We're doing other things first. All right. Next slide is EMS incidents by age.
The green population.
So basically, the older you get, the more you get to
I
contact
changed
us.
colors this year, I went from green to blue.
So, then the next slide, I talk about the SAFER grant. I basically described what happened. SAFER grant added 4 firefighter EMTs, 1 firefighter EMT to each shift. Each shift now has a captain, firefighter paramedic, an advanced EMT, and a regular firefighter EMT. Just a side note, most of the EMTs that we hired went out on their own and got their raise. So but this is the bare minimum. And working with the Safer Committee and with Paul Blaisdell, he wanted to know if they were on the tax rate, what would the cost be? And for the 4 employees, it would be 36 cents per thousand. That would be the effect on the tax rate.
So each one is 9 cents.
Yes, each employee is 9 cents.
Three of them just came off probation.
Yep.
What's that?
3 of them just came off probation.
Yes.
So incidents, it shows our incident volume in 2020, we had 2,010 incidents. And then in the year 2021, we had 2,014 incidents, so basically we're level. And the previous year, we had in 2019, we had 2,000 calls, and in 2018, it was 1,986. So we're right around 2,000 calls right now, kind of hovering right there. Second call response times. So this is just for second calls, not more than 2 calls at the same time. So if I added second or all simultaneous calls, this 1410 goes up to 24 minutes. Because on that third or fourth call, it really jacks up the number of how long it takes somebody to get on scene.
Especially if you're waiting for mutual aid,
Yes, that's
that could be 10 minutes before you even know that you need mutual aid. Hopefully you know ahead of time.
we kind of know as it's going on, but there are times when we're very busy and our mutual aid company, towns are very busy, and it takes time for them to get out too. So the effect of having that additional person just for the second call, as you can see, it basically cuts the arrival time for that second incident in half. And for me, that's the most important one. As you can see, as I go back to the beginning, our incidents were exactly the same, number-wise. But we were able to transport a lot more on the ambulance because we were able to handle those second calls. And using mutual aid ambulances, you can see in 2020 we had to use a mutual aid ambulance 83 times. So it's 83 transports that we lost, whereas last year we only lost 39. But because we had additional personnel, we were able to provide more mutual aid transports than we were. So we're collecting money because we're providing more mutual aid, and we're using it less. And then the last slide I have, it shows how we're, with the same number of runs, how we're able to collect more revenue because we're actually be able to use ambulance more in mutual aid and using going mutual aid, be able to go mutual aid more and be able to rely less on mutual aid for our own transports.
How is February looking compared to January? I mean, January we were very busy. Does February still seem
I
as busy?
think we're still busier than we were last year.
Yeah, we're like 60 calls ahead of where we were last year.
Really? Well, it's just a trend, I wonder if there's...
We'll find out.
Well, because last year, because people were home more, I would have expected more calls, where more people are back in school, back at work.
It did, as you can see, over the past 3 or 4 years, it really hasn't affected our call. COVID did not affect our call volume the way I thought it would. Whereas I talked to Laconia or I talked to Franklin, their call volume went down. Ours stayed pretty much the same.
The interesting thing about last year, 2020, is those addresses where we went to numerous times, we didn't have that last year.
Yeah, we didn't have the frequent flyers last year.
Yeah, this way you see that, absolutely.
There were a couple, but not like a...
Not like, you know, 402 Sandoggy Pond Road or 46 Dunlop Road or some of the other addresses that we we're going to quite frequently that we don't do anymore. The place I think we went to the most was Ski Hill Drive,
You
the
go
bike park.
there 2 or 3 times on Saturday.
92 and 93 times last year.
Did you go there this
And-
Saturday with the Woolly?
No, I don't believe so.
And the other thing is, when I first arrived here, we were going to the vet's home 2 or 3 times a day. We go there once a week now.
2020, we went there a lot, obviously.
Are they using private ambulance more?
Yes. Yeah,
And their census is way down.
yeah.
Oh, their census, because they don't have the staff.
They don't have the staff.
They're like half capacity.
What about the place in Northfield?
I mean, we go there, but
Are they,
I think they're full.
oh. I don't know, I just know right where it is. Right next to town hall.
Right.
Yeah. Just want to make sure I got the right,
Yes.
same place. Thanks, Chief. You're welcome.
Called the carriage house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it
Used
is.
to be the arches.
I want to call it the Arches for
Used
some
to be
reason.
the arches.
Okay. Old memories. My favorite thing. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Public comment from members of the district for the public? Deputy? Yeah. Okay. Inspection's going well?
They're going.
Yeah.
Won't be 36 next month, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, well, it's only, there's fewer days, so. What time is that? The 19th?
So the training burn will take place, we're gonna get there at 6 o'clock to set up.
Yeah.
Everybody's arriving at 6:30, and then we're gonna have the first fire lit no later than 7:30, and we'll be out of there within a couple hours.
Red marshmallows, something.
I would not roast any
Okay.
marshmallows in those fires.
I just thought of that. Well, if we have a gas fire pit at work and people think it's a good idea to roast marshmallows. No, not. Make taste for me. All right, I guess we go into non-public. I need my cheat sheet.
Okay, I'm giving you 2 cheat sheets because they're 2 separate things they're going under.
We got 2?
Well, you said you did.
Yeah, I wanted to go into,
So, the normal one is C,
For disposition.
yeah.
the disposition reports.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what the other one would be. Let me just read this over with
I'm pretty sure that would be D,
you. Yeah, okay.
if you're talking about what I think you're talking about.
I won't know until I get in there. So, do we have to go into C and then come out and then go back into D?
Yes, you do.
Okay.
You can't declare you're going in for both?
No,
Okay.
you have to do it separately.
Okay.
All right, so today is the
8.
8th, thank you. Members present, Paul Ozier, John Silly, me. I'd like to make a motion to go into non-public session per RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, C. Matters which if discussed in public would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. Unless such person requests an open meeting, this exemption shall extend to include any application for assistance or tax abatement or waiver of a fee, fine, or other levy, if based on inability to pay or poverty of the applicant. Second,
I'll second it.
John. All right, roll call vote. Paul Ozier,
Yes.
John Silly,
Yes.
Eric Piper, yes. Stop the recorder.
What time are you going into non?
Oh, we're gone, I thought it said, sorry, 7:09. So I hit stop.
Yes.
Stop. The time being 7:18 PM. We are back in
Public.
public session. Do we need to make a motion to seal the minutes? No. No, all right, so we'll need to do that. And these minutes are recorded by me. All right. So I give that to you.
Yes, please.
Now I can go into, what I say, D?
D.
All right. So I make a motion to enter non-public session under RSA 91-A:3, Roman numeral 2, D, consideration of the acquisition, sale, or lease of real or personal property, which, if discussed in public, would likely benefit a party or parties whose interests are adverse to those of the general community. Roll call, oh, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Paul. We are, roll call vote, roll call,
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Eric, yes. Stop the recorder, we are non-public session at 7:19.
Just a red button, right?
Yes,
And I'll hit,
yes, please.
It's me.
all right.
We're in public session.
We are in public session at 7:30 PM. Make a motion to seal the minutes of the non-public session because it determined that the divulgence of this information likely would,
How about render?
render a proposed action ineffective. So I'll make a motion to seal it. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Paul seconds it. Roll call vote to seal the minutes. Paul Ozier?
Yeah.
John Silly?
Nay.
Nay. Eric Pyra, yes. Motion passed. These minutes are recorded by me. And I'll hand those over to you. All right, what else we got? Did that. Sign the manifest. Any other business to come before the board? We have to discuss our March 8th meeting, which is Election Day.
Yes.
So normally we have traditionally shied away from that day. March 1st, pull out your calendars, step right up. March, don't forget February and March look very similar.
Right.
Until we get to the 29th. I am out of town the 15th.
Thought we already moved it to the first.
I don't have it, I have it on,
I have it on
I have it on.
No. I have it on the first.
You do?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I think we might have brought it up before and I shifted right then and there, but we
Probably.
probably didn't walk it in. Okay.
All right, so,
Of course, you know, when we have it on the first, be getting reports to you beforehand is,
near nil.
no, it is nil.
All right, well, you get it for the meeting though, right?
Yeah, I try and,
Yeah.
I have other meetings that day before our meeting.
Yeah.
The Lakes Region Executive Committee meeting, and a couple other things that, so, I'll be scrambling, for
Right.
sure.
All right,
And the 14th is district meeting.
14, I have that. The budget, there's a budget committee meeting, is there any more public hearings?
No,
So we're actually done
Yes.
with everything until district meeting,
yes,
other than our meeting for March 1st.
right. You're done, but I'm scrambling to get everything in the towns for the town reports and,
Oh, trust me. All right. March 1st. What else is March 1st?
District meeting starts at 7, right?
yes.
First day of women's history. Never heard of that.
7, not 6?
7. Yeah,
District meeting?
yeah.
It's at
Okay.
7, yeah, it's always been at
Yeah.
7.
Alright, I had it here as 6.
I think it's what time we get there, because I have it for 6 too. So I think that's just what,
Then you gotta get.
Yeah, you guys get there between 6 and 6:30
yeah.
to get everything.
I'll
I
probably-
get there at 5,
Where is the meeting
Because
this year?
I gotta set up all
At the high school?
yes,
Okay.
auditorium,
Cafetorium, whatever they, yeah, cafetorium.
yes.
Well, we'll need to have our flashlights to read.
Yeah, did they fix the light bulbs above us?
Probably not.
Probably not.
John, can you see that?
Where are your meetings? The school committee meetings?
School board will be in the gym.
Oh, no, but your like monthly meetings, where are
Middle
they?
school cafeteria, the middle school
Oh,
cafeteria.
all right. That was high school.
No.
See, he can't tell us if they fix the lights. All right. Anything else?
Can we send a request over to the high school to see if the custodian there can make sure those lights above us, right in front of the stage, do work, because it's like, it's.
We requested that last year.
Yeah.
Did I request it? I'll
No,
talk to Rob.
But you do go over there frequently, so if you'd go check it out, Deputy?
We have a ladder if they need, that can reach.
We have a truck too, we have a ladder truck, coming to the top.
The deputy will check that out.
Thank you. It's just sitting on that side. I think the finance committee side is fine. They have lights, don't they?
No,
No,
the whole
I
thing's
just-
pretty bad.
I just struggle trying to read that night.
All right,
Was it because they weren't working, or did they have them on because of the
They
projector?
weren't
No, they
working.
don't, the lights were burnt out or something.
They haven't changed the bulbs.
I don't know what
Did
kind
you
of.
ever find the minutes for the non-public last year?
still looking for that one.
Oh.
No, I'm still looking for it, I have one more place to look, so.
Okay. Do we need to schedule that sometime soon too?
I've been looking, trust me. Slowly, I go through every piece of paper that,
Yep.
like, oh, this was in a box.
Well, I just can't ask you any other time, so that's why I'm
No,
asking.
no, that's fine.
All right, and the email that was sent out today, since I haven't, and I don't access from this, was a copy of the letter in it?
Yes, it was.
Yes.
It was a
Okay.
copy of the letter.
Okay, so I'll be able to read that?
Yes.
For tomorrow night's meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
It
Kevin
was sent
Kate
to
got
them.
it as
Oh,
well.
okay.
And all of the building committee got it.
Okay.
Because he copied Kevin Kate and the chief on the letter to Eric, and I forwarded it to
Thank you.
everybody.
Okay. I haven't gotten into, I can get to it from there. I gotta reset my password or something for that office.com. I can get to it through my iPad, no problem. I might be able to do it through here, but I can't get through my other computers.
Then sometimes it has to send you a code.
Yeah,
to text.
the authenticator is not, they ask for a 4-digit and it sends me a 6-digit. Doesn't work that way.
Oh, with mine, I
You
don't
gotta
have it.
pick which 4 of those 6 that you
I've tried
use.
that. I have tried that.
So mine, I just have to hit acknowledge on my authenticator. I don't have to.
This,
type-
Yeah, it's weird.
What's the matter?
When I try doing it on my computer.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
I have it saved to the iPad, so that I can
One's
use
Northfield,
office.com.
one's
Sure.
And there it is. This one I'm not sure.
Yeah, that'd be terrible to type in a code every time it does it.
Oh,
Every time I turn my laptop on.
Why would you do it?
Yeah,
You would get rid of it.
And see, this one I'll have to sign in as well.
okay.
Make sure it's somebody.
It was a
That's one
PDF.
for password. so maybe-
Yes, it was.
I read it last night. Did I read it last night?
Probably.
Where did I see you last night?
Me?
Or you, well, how did we get it last night? Or you
I
just
sent-
emailed it? You just
I emailed it
Yeah,
out
yeah, yeah.
yesterday
Right.
to you and Kevin, and copied the rest of the boards and committees.
Authenticator.
What irritating together. That's what I was looking
Yeah, see, one-time passcode, 8 digits.
Huh, yeah, mine doesn't look anything like that. Authenticator.
4829, we'll try that one.
for. What's that for?
Trying to log in.
To what?
The email.
Oh,
Does it ask to send a text to your phone?
1 second. I'm trying to beat the clock. 4855.
hello,
Nope.
how's that?
It kicks out at a 6-digit.
Kathy probably sent it to your Gmail. Still allowed?
I can send it to, yeah, if you want.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a reset, or
What would that?
password reset.
All right, I'll forward it to your Gmail.
Oh, no, I can get to it. I have my
Oh,
iPad when I
okay.
go to that meeting, so I'll be able to see
Okay.
the letter.
Okay.
That I'm good on,
Right.
yes. No, it's just trying to get, so I can access emails from. I used to.
Wait a second.
Technology.
I think the printer is there. I can print you a copy.
I have one.
All right, all right.
I
Save
appreciate
it,
that.
Jack.
But I can get to that one, and I'll have that with me. That's my portable computer.
Kevin sent out an email yesterday asking if are we even having a meeting?
He's the chair.
That's,
Well, part of it was pending this tonight, or talking with, there was a question last week when Alan was here, so it was pending the outcome of the commissioners with the Alan was meeting. So I'll reach out to him tomorrow and see what But yeah, if I don't have to rush out of work early, I'm happy.
I don't know what the point of tomorrow's meeting would be at
Well-
that point, really.
I don't know if they need to discuss that letter or not. I don't know.
That's a commissioner issue, really. They can discuss it, but it doesn't.
Well, see, since he pulled out of it, then let's see if they're gonna go back to design build and start moving on that process or whatever for the station committee.
I think the commissioners asked me tonight to see if I could get recommendations of other folks that do what Alan did to the Board of Commissioners to do.
But they still may wanna meet. That's up to him as the chair.
No, he can call a meeting if he wants.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I got nothing else.
Motion to adjourn,
Second.
second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's not debatable. Vote with your feet, is that what they say? We are adjourned at 7:40 PM.
Well, you know,
Hit stop.
learn what the buck can endure.
Guess enough camera, is it?